James Marvin Niebe, or Jim as many called him, was born and raised in Blue Ward County, Minnesota. He later settled in the small town of Lake Crystal. When Jim was 22, he met his future wife, Jennifer. The girl was about 7 years older, but the age difference did not prevent the lovers from having a good time with each other, and over time they began to live together. Jennifer left behind a son, Brady, from a previous relationship. Jim accepted the teenager as his own. After the couple moved in together, it was decided to legitimize the relationship. So Jim and Jennifer got married in 2008. In his free time, Jim liked to go on nature trips. He loved hunting, kayaking, and fishing. People around him described the young man as very sweet, kind, though somewhat naive. Jim's family and friends were confused by his frivolous attitude towards everything. But no matter how much his family and friends criticized the frivolity that was evident in the guy's actions, he still set a goal to become an electrician in order to rely on his own strength, and not wait for outside help. As for personal relationships, Jim dreamed of creating a large, friendly family. On August 31, 2010, Jennifer called 911. During the call, she said, "Please help, someone is killing us." The woman whispered into the phone that her husband had been shot. Jennifer reported her 16-year-old son Brady, who was also at home at the time. According to the woman, she ran to her son's room and woke him up as soon as she saw that her husband had been shot. Jennifer herself was attacked by an unknown person who cut her inner thigh. The woman told the dispatcher that she and her son managed to escape from the criminal and locked themselves in the basement. She was still talking on the phone when the first responders arrived at the house. Once inside the building, the police noticed that some of the furniture was out of place. She found a knife and rope in the living room. Jimma was found lying on his stomach in his bed. The man had been shot in the back of the head. It seemed that he had been attacked while he was peacefully sleeping. The officers checked Jimma's pulse, after which they pronounced him dead. Jennifer told the police that she was getting ready for work when she heard a loud bang. She looked through a small crack in the door and saw that Jimma had been shot. The woman described the attacker as a man dressed in dark clothes. Half of his face was covered with a nylon bandage. When the stranger noticed Jennifer, he rushed towards her, holding a rope in one hand and a knife in the other. He managed to leave a wound on the woman, which she showed to the police. The officers saw cuts on the inside of her thighs. The criminal fled the scene when a dog barked. While running around, he dropped the rope, which, as it turned out, he had taken from the garage. This item was used by the couple when they were kayaking. As for the knife found at the crime scene, it belonged to Jim, who bought it for deer hunting. The officers turned their attention to Brady. The guy was in a state of shock. He was clearly confused with the student. From the conversation with the teenager, the police concluded that he had a good relationship with his stepfather. The officers decided to question Brady in more detail about what happened. He said that his mother woke him up shortly before 6 a.m. The boy did not hear the announcement. When his mother came running and briefly told him about the tragedy, the teenager grabbed his hunting rifle, into which he inserted cartridges so that he could use it against the criminal if necessary. Brady and his mother locked themselves in the basement. The boy did not let go of the weapon until the police arrived. Only later did the officers learn that Brady called 911, which he did not report during the interrogation. So far, the story of the teenager and his mother coincided. The police began to process the information received by the victims, trying to find streets that could dislodge who was behind the crime. Jennifer was sent to the hospital for treatment for weed. The police were quickly able to rule out robbery as a motive. There were no signs of a break-in. Nothing was stolen from the scene. The officers wanted to know more about Jim's relationship with Jennifer and Brady. Jennifer was a very good nurse and a surgeon. However, for some reason, those around him thought that she could have been involved in the tragedy. Jim liked Jennifer's family, so they did not want to believe that their loved ones were involved. Those around him confirmed the information about the good relationship between Jim and Brady. True, sometimes they had conflicts, since the teenager did not want to do any work around the house, no matter how hard they forced him. The police talked to Jennifer after she was discharged from the hospital. The woman made a statement that her ex-partner Paul Hallberg could have been involved in the crime. Jennifer and Paul dated before her mother married Jim. It turned out that Paul and Jim were once good friends. Jennifer said that her ex-boyfriend was probably jealous of her relationship with Jim. Jim's family knew Paul, but she couldn't say anything bad about him. The police talked to him. His height and weight matched the description of the attacker Jennifer had previously reported. Paul said he had heard about the crime on the news and presented to the public as a home invasion where the owners had taken a life. As for Paul, he had dated Jennifer for about 2 or 3 years, then broke up a couple of times due to endless arguments, and a year later the woman married Jim. It turned out that Paul had been to Jennifer's house and knew her daily routine well. The officers learned from locals that Jennifer had told them that Paul's family was stalking her because she owed them money. Paul said that Jennifer had borrowed a small amount from his father, which she later never paid back. According to Paul, he only had problems with Jennifer, and there were no disagreements with Jim. According to Paul, he was in St. James, Minnesota, at the time of the crime. The police checked his alibi. It turned out that Paul had arrived at work in St. James at about 7:30 a.m., and the incident had occurred about an hour and a half earlier. The police did not rule this man out as a suspect, as they believed that he could have committed the crime and then arrived at work on time. September 2, 2010, the police received phone records of Jim and Jennifer, but found nothing suspicious. The officers learned that the woman had been communicating with another ex-boyfriend, not Paul. The lady had once dated this partner, with whom she continued to contact via phone. The interlocutors sent each other photos and exchanged text messages. The couple also started talking about a romantic relationship. The police questioned this alleged ex-boyfriend. He claimed that at the time of the crime he was at home with his girlfriend and the degenerate child. The man admitted that he had been in contact with Jennifer, but his current girlfriend did not know about it. Having learned this information, the police received a warrant to search Jennifer's house again. The officers found financial documents indicating that the couple had fallen behind on their rent payments and credit card bills. The police found Jennifer's diary, where she wrote in one of her entries that Jim was a good man, whom she did not love, because her heart belonged to her ex, who had tied the knot with another girl, who had recently given birth to a child. Jennifer wrote that she wanted to leave her husband. On September 3, 2010, police learned from Jim Darren's boss that he had taken out a $250,000 life insurance policy, and Jennifer had pushed him to do so. On September 10th, the women were arrested and questioned again. Jennifer said that in fact there was no home invasion, nor was there an intruder. On the day of the murder, she woke up at 5:30 a.m. and was overcome with a feeling of panic. An unknown force pushed the woman to get a gun and insert a bullet. Then the lady returned to the marital bedroom, grabbed a blanket from the edge of the bed and covered her husband with it, after which she put the gun to the sleeping shoulder and pulled the trigger. Jennifer admitted that she had an addiction to painkillers. She forged prescriptions at work, but she was not always able to get the required amount. According to the woman, Jim was a good man and did not deserve what happened to him. Jennifer admitted that she had inflicted the injuries on herself. On March 30, 2011, she was charged with a first-degree crime. On September 9, 2012, she entered into a plea bargain and received 25 years in prison. Jennifer is a real scoundrel. Not only did she take the life of a good man, as she herself called Jim, but she also crippled her son's psyche. Brady was shocked when the accident happened, and then lost both his mother and stepfather, whom he considered a close person. Jennifer's addiction changed her mind, turning her into an inadequate person. I sincerely feel sorry for Jim's relatives until the last, hoping for the innocence of Jennifer, who ultimately did not live up to their expectations.